It's time for NuWho Review with your host, Farrar Hutkins. Welcome back to NuWho Review. Season 8, Episode 11, Dark Water is what we are talking about this week. Hi there, I'm Farrar, your erstwhile host, and I am joined once again by our three semi-usual cohorts, actually increasingly usual cohorts. Lewis.
Hello.
Alex.
Hi.
And Paul.
Good evening.
Is it evening? Well, perhaps it's evening where you are. If you're listening to this in the morning, then good morning. Well, the invasion is back.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that I thought of when I saw...
Steps of St. Paul's, eh?
Steps of St. Paul's. And wow, an interesting reveal. Missy turned out to be not at all who I thought it was.
Me neither.
Because your theory was it was the TARDIS.
That it was the TARDIS's consciousness, yeah.
Right. And I eventually discarded my theory that it was somebody that we knew, and I eventually decided that, no, they were just going to invent a whole new villain. Well, I got that wrong. What about you guys?
I forget who I thought it was. I mean, I had read that some people thought it was that it was going to be the Master, and then there were some thought that it was going to be River or Madame Kavorian. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff I had read.
Oh God, I'm so glad it's not River.
But my thing is that are we sure that it's really? Are we not going to get another reveal and that it's actually not the Master? Because someone posted this and I was thinking the same thing when I heard, because I clapped when it revealed, and I was like, oh my God, you're awesome. And then I was like, wait. Because Missy already lied to us in the beginning of the episode when she introduced herself
that she was an
android and she acted really weird and crazy, which is usual for what I've seen in the Master. Because I only have the Tens Master to go by.
John Sim
and Alex, is it the Eighth Doctor's Master?
Eric Roberts.
Thank you, Eric Roberts. I know
the American Master.
Yeah. Which I love him, and if I'd known he was in that, I would have watched that sooner. But but I only have those two to go by, and it seemed like she was of character, which she's crazy and weird as usual. But are we sure that it's really the Master and it's not somebody else?
To me, it seems to be a continuation of the new Who Master. Like old school Who Master was quiet, controlling, yes, but calm, used hypnotism a lot. New school Master is that hypercharged, plus a lot of manic, psychotic behavior.
Well, Missy's a lot more controlled, though, than Sim's Master was.
That's true, but the kiss that everybody was talking about, that to me had new Master all over it, because he doesn't know who she is yet. She is going to do anything that she can think of to completely wind him up and throw him off guard.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. He was just completely flummoxed by it, which I thought was a hilarious moment, because that reminded me of the John Sim Doctor from Tennant's era.
Yeah, there's a lot more madness there than there used to be.
Was that kiss what you think it was? Was there another reason for that kiss?
Well, now...
Well, I thought there wasn't there? Because he felt two hearts. Right?
But there's also the tradition that Time Lords are touch telepaths. Remember, David Tennant in Girl in the Fireplace. They had a mental connection when they kissed, and there have been episodes where the Doctor has been able to connect mentally with someone through touch. So I kind of wonder if the Doctor got a feeling that was the Master, or at least another Time Lord, during that kiss, and that was another reason that he froze. Not just, oh my God, she tongued me.
That was sheer shock that the old adversary is back at all.
Right.
Now, personally, looking at it just on the face value, it seems to me like a direct continuation from the last appearance of the Master and Last of the Time Lords.
Right.
We saw a woman's hand reach down and get that ring.
Right. The
implication that the Master's soul was in the ring, and, well, he's body snatched before in Keeper of Traken and in the 1996 movie The Enemy Within. So I think it's very consistent if he had gone ahead and gotten that body.
I have gathered you all here today to say that Mr. Pink, that Danny Pink, has sadly passed away. I'm sure you'll all join me in wishing his family and friends our sincerest condolences.
Before we get too much into the darkness, I'd like to mention something that I thought was really funny, which was a callback to the very opening of The Deadly Assassin, where they had the scrolling words and the voice, and he said, "Do you really need the scroll and the voice at the same time?" Because in the beginning of The Deadly Assassin...
Oh my God, you're right.
That's what some people criticized about Deadly Assassin.
To have Tom Baker reading it.
Because Tom Baker was reading his own narration.
Right, so that's a patently obvious clue as to where my theory of where this is really originated. I don't think... Yes, definitely it's the Master. Definitely when the Master says... I have two hearts and both of them are yours. I think we can take this back to the Master is up to his/hers same old agenda of wanting to take on the Doctor's regenerations.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of clues, and the Deadly Assassin homage as a clue as to where exactly all this is really taking place.
And in Kill the Moon, the Doctor said he doesn't know how many regenerations he has left. It could be infinite.
Right.
So if the Master is thinking the same thing, he's probably thinking, okay, no matter how many I've got left, he's got buku regenerations. I'm going to steal as many of them as I can.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything is what it seems. I think we've had a whole bunch of clues about what's going on. Alex, you mentioned the fairy tale aspect, the story aspect, that all this is taking place inside of a non-reality.
Right. Is this all a dream?
The biggest clue is that the Matrix slice.
That Matrix
everywhere
hardware was visible, but would that hardware be visible within the Matrix?
A matrix within a matrix. Okay,
A holodeck within a holodeck.
I think that
I'm
what's
really
going
pissed
on.
That this is like a JR ending. I'm sorry.
Well.
I hate it. I hate
more like
dream
it.
realities.
Trial of the Time Lord ending.
Or is it Ship in a Bottle from The Next Generation, where you have someone who thinks that they've left the holodeck and they're actually on the holodeck?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, someone who thinks that, because when he walks out of, at least I'm going to assume it's the Master's TARDIS, when he walks out of the big doors and he's suddenly on contemporary Earth now, is it really? Or are we still in the TARDIS? Which is where he materialized his TARDIS, which has callbacks to Castrovalva, where you had a TARDIS within a TARDIS.
Right.
So we have a TARDIS within a TARDIS. We could have a Matrix within a Matrix. So interesting.
And the Masters had 4 years to set this plot up.
At least.
At least.
Well, wasn't there that 2,000-year thing in the Christmas episode?
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah,
maybe he's
right.
had 2,004 years. That's a lot of body snatching.
So, where Danny is it in that black orb thing that she was looking at? That Missy was like, they're in
The Nether Sphere.
Yeah. So is that where
Wherever
he is?
that is.
He's in that black orb thing because she turns to look at it as the Doctor and Clara walk away to go talk to the Dr. Chan.
The assumption is that is the Matrix.
Okay, that's what I was curious.
But
okay.
who's to say it's not turned on its head?
Right.
They're in the Matrix, and Danny's woken up from his sleep. Who's to say that?
Yeah, anything's possible. One thing is for sure, though, they're throwing some good psychological warfare at Danny to try to get him to delete his own personality.
But
I have
is
a theory
Danny
about
really
that,
dead?
though.
Is my question because we never saw his body.
I have a theory about that, though, is that child that he shot. I don't know how many times y'all have watched this episode, but I noticed the second time that I looked at that scene, when his finger is hovering over the delete button, you can see reflected in the screen of the iPad the child's face.
Yeah, tell me to stop him.
And I'm thinking he's going to say, no, don't do it.
Maybe.
Because somebody has to point out that the whole thing is a big con.
Yes.
That they are trying to emotionally break you and get you to hit the delete button. They're telling you that you can feel things after you're dead. They're telling you that you can feel being cremated. They're telling you that you
are
can
dead.
you can feel your autopsy even though you're dead.
Yeah.
And they're trying to trick you into hitting that delete button because they need bodies and they need minds.
Right.
They don't necessarily need to have the same body from the same mind because obviously they can separate them, but they need equal quantities of both. And I think that's where...
Oh, okay. So that's good insight. I had trouble figuring out why they were able to go through with it at all if he assumed that his body had been incinerated.
Right. Well,
so they could still use the brain.
Gretchen's body could have been incinerated by the Dalek antibodies. Danny's body could have been broken by the impact with the bus, which we never heard, by the way.
And we never saw, like I'm saying, we never saw him actually die. And who's to say this all?
We saw a body. We did see a body. There was that shot with the crowd, and there was a body.
There was like a sheet over it, though. We didn't.
Well, they were pulling it. Yeah, they were pulling a sheet over it.
But we didn't see.
It looked like him, though. It had his pants and his shoes.
Yeah.
And his jacket. We never saw his face.
Not till it's in writing. I'm not going to believe it until it's in writing. Once it's in writing, then you can't change it.
Well, and there was something that somebody pointed out as a blooper, but I don't think it was a blooper. I think it was intentional, that the phone cut out, so we never heard the screeching of the tires and the impact and the phone dropping. All we heard was the woman who picked up the phone afterwards. Right. So again, it's a mystery. But even if the body is not useful, and even if all they've done is download the mind just before the moment of death, they can put it into whatever body they want.
True, although obviously the body is useful because they've got all these skeletons that they're using.
Which was a great nod to Tomb of the Cybermen.
There was a lot of Tomb of the Cybermen. There was Jason and the Argonauts with the moving skeletons. Yes. I thought was pretty good.
You know, Ray Harryhausen.
I'll tell you what I think the biggest lift is, though. A lot of this whole plot of the Masters is a lift from Davros's plot,
Revelation
of the Daleks. Right.
That's just what I was thinking.
It's the same scheme. You know, you're hiding out in a mortuary, siphoning off a steady supply of bodies to build a standing secret army.
Right.
And then unleash it on, well, humanity, I suppose.
Which is interesting because I think one of the questions that I asked several episodes ago was, is Missy building an army?
Right.
As it turns out, she is. Not the army that I was thinking of, but it certainly looks like the Master is in league with the Cybermen, which is interesting because the last time the Master teamed up with the baddies, he teamed up with the Daleks, and it didn't go well. So I'm wondering what's going to happen this time.
Do you still have those sleep patch things?
You can't have one.
Having trouble sleeping.
Still can't have one.
Can I have one?
No, you can't have one.
Well, if anything Moffat's taught me, it's never to believe what's actually on screen.
True.
So I'm thinking it's going to have something to do with the dream state patch that Clara had that's going to be, and it's actually all a dream. And no one's really dead. It's all a dream, and it's somehow all like a computer simulated by the Master.
Yeah, was everybody happy with the way that scene played out?
Weird. Well, it was basically it was a clue. The doctor said, "Do you thought that would work on me?" Well, maybe that wouldn't work on him. Maybe a kiss would work on him.
I wonder if that scene wouldn't have worked better without the very quick flashbacks. The first time I saw it, I thought the doctor's having premonitions of the future now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
It was hard to read, but I thought it was an excellent insight into Clara's character, to where this is what you do if you are grieving over somebody's sudden death and you have a friend with a time machine.
You threaten them.
And she's very good at threatening the doctor. She does it in every episode. This time she threatened to detach something if he spoke for her again, which I thought was really tasteless. We didn't need that in that scene. We get that Clara's feisty and she likes to threaten the doctor. I thought that was an unnecessary line, but that's just me. There were a couple of problems I had with this episode. Some were continuity errors, like the fact that the guy's hand was wet when he pulled it out of the dark water, but the Cybermen were all dry when they walked out of their chambers. And I'm not quite sure I like the Cyberman armor redesign. It looks a little plastic to me.
Perhaps, but it
looks a little RoboCop.
Yeah, but at least it's not Cybus Cybermen anymore. They had to shake that off.
You mean with the handles?
No, with the C insignia on the chest. Remember, the alternate universe Cybermen were not from Mondus or Telos. They were designed by Cybus.
Yeah, when they
had, for budget reasons, they had to reuse those costumes without explanation when they became the real Cybermen.
Well,
so
what I was thinking was, since they had iPads, they were actually going to have Macintosh apples on their chest. The glowing apple.
Hey, Steve Jobs is there.
Yeah, exactly. They've got Steve Jobs.
There is one thing. It does explain all of the current tech that's been popping up lately.
Yeah.
At least that's a pretty good explanation.
Were these Cybermen? I don't really remember them. Are they like the ones where we saw in the from last season with Claire in the amusement park? Are they the ones that kind of look like
Iron Man?
Yeah. Like with
Yes.
they do. Okay.
Cross between Iron Man and the RoboCop reboot.
Yes.
Really.
All right.
Yeah.
You will never step inside your TARDIS again.
No.
Do as you are told.
No.
Say it again so I know you mean it.
No.
By the way, can we get the Cybermen to walk normally? Please? They look like Crichton from Red Dwarf now.
Yeah.
It's become
There's a
so
reason
exaggerated.
he walks that way. It's the suit.
I thought it was because his hydraulics were overpumped.
Well, I thought they
It's to
couldn't bend
avoid
their
chafing.
legs. Like, aren't the suits when they make them for the Cybermen, they can't bend their legs? Like, they have to walk like that?
Oh
I
no,
thought that was a
they've
reason.
been just fine. But because the Cybermen are now the stand-ins for the brown shirts, they all have to go because that's the scary part now. I, for one, preferred it when, in the old days, a Cyberman could creep up behind you menacingly without making a sound because they don't breathe, and you would never know that they were there. But now, every time they take a step, it reminds me of like a metal press in a factory where you're stamping out fenders. I don't know.
It's
That's
a little
just me.
overwrought, but I don't want to go back to the days of cloth costumes and ping pong balls and sing-song
Flashlights.
voices. Although the sing-song voices are really creepy if you look at 10th Planet again.
Yeah, they are.
Incredibly creepy.
Yeah, and especially considering that those were the same guys who did the same two guys that did the Dalek voices. It's nice that they were able to come up with something completely different for that. And the Cyber Controller had a completely different voice as well. So, I mean, this is kind of a callback to the invasion, but the Cybermen have been supercharged, even though there were only 6 of them coming out of St. Paul's.
What about the fact that we have little or no reaction at all from the populace?
Which makes me think, like you said, that this is not
Fishy.
real Earth.
Right.
Right. And so the population that we saw could be populated by simulants, and we've already been given like a taste of that from the Mummy on the Orient Express.
Or they're all in the Matrix and they're used to crazy things happening and they're just kind of like, oh, I'm not going to believe this one either.
Well, maybe another personal vendetta episode where the Master is simply trying to destroy everything that the Doctor has worked so hard for.
Yeah, kind of
take him apart psychologically.
Kind of Roger Delgado era-esque, where he's not just trying to destroy he's not just trying to destroy the Doctor. But
he's not just trying to kill the
Doctor. He's trying to break the Doctor.
That would be too easy, right?
He's trying to break the Doctor emotionally by destroying everything
that
that's
he cares
dear to
for.
him.
Right.
Yeah.
You're dead, and this is what's next.
I'm not dead. How can I be dead?
Our sincere condolences.
I'm standing right here.
Yes, you are. Welcome to the underworld.
So I have a bizarre theory that I laid out, and it kind of, in a way, explains the appearance of Tom Baker's Doctor in the 50th. What if
he wasn't the Doctor? He was just an old guy in the museum.
I understand
though.
that.
He was a soothsayer.
Who knows?
Well, Tom Baker's appearance in the 50th could be that what we're seeing. If Moffat wanted to make as big an impact on Doctor Who with regards to change as he did by introducing the 8.5 Doctor, what if he unraveled the Whoniverse all the way back to Tom Baker being inside the Matrix in The Deadly Assassin, and that
the references to The Deadly Assassin would pan that out.
I mean,
Master's there.
True.
Doctor's there.
I would think though that they wouldn't have gone through all of Trial of a Time Lord, in between. I mean, if we're going to want to go back to the last time he was in the Matrix,
Right.
I would say that would be the occasion.
Yeah, that would be
it.
Another good point as well. That was brought up by a gentleman.
But I don't think that's going to be the case either. I think, they're not going to completely yank the wool out from underneath all these new fans. There's no way they're going to.
My favorite crazy theory, and this one's really off the wall, is that the Doctor was being downloaded into the Matrix, and something went wrong, and it split him into the good Doctor and the evil Doctor, and the evil Doctor is Missy, and they have to recombine them, and when they do that, you get the Valyard.
Well, that's interesting you say that. I thought that the value would be a product of the Master uploads himself into the Doctor's body, which is outside the Matrix right now, and the Doctor, in an attempt to fight, uploads himself into his body, and that becomes a Valyard. So there's a constant struggle but I like yours as well.
I like that theory. Could happen.
And
if
then
they decide to bring back the Valyard.
And then what you have for the coming series is the internal struggle for control from the Master and the Doctor, but they're actually a fused personality, so they're...
That could mean that Series 8 takes place inside the Matrix and Series 9 takes place inside the Doctor's mind. So suddenly the universe is getting smaller and smaller now.
Well, I think at that point you should unleash that. You should unleash the Valyard into the real world, and then have there be actual repercussions for it, not just having.
So many fans don't like the Valyard, though, that I think he would end up pissing a lot of plastic fans off.
Don't expect them to reintroduce the Valyard anyway, because it would require too lengthy of a setup. Yeah. And it calls back too much to a season.
You would have to explain so much.
Yeah.
And they don't have time for that now.
And it also calls back, it's way too dependent upon a season that a lot of people
did not like.
Really just written off. It's an awful, awful season. Trial of a Time Lord was just a disaster as far as I'm concerned.
Before you were a teacher, you spent some time as a soldier.
Yeah, so?
Any regrets?
I think no matter what, the Master is attempting to take over the Doctor's remaining regeneration.
Oh, yeah.
Without question, that's what's going on, one way or the other. And that presently, whether it's just the past series or further back than that, the Doctor is in a place other than the real world.
Yeah, I could get behind that theory, that it's all taking place inside, especially this last year, this last season, or series rather. There's been a lot of fantasy elements, a lot of unbelievable things happening. The Doctor's been trying to figure out something on that chalkboard, and just like the current mental games of trying to figure out whether our reality is a simulation, I believe that he's been trying to piece together what's wrong with this universe. He's on to something.
There are those touches of reality, like the fact that Clara wanted to mention 3 months to Danny. 3 months is your first trimester. And if they want to keep the continuity going between Danny and Orson Pink, and that his great-grandparents were time travelers or something like that, they're going to have to make sure that they have a family, or at least that Clara gives birth to
Clara
one.
Is impregnated, right? Yeah, right. I thought about that.
Clara has to have at least one child, at least for that to happen. Because somebody said that, what if this all is the Matrix and Clara is actually dead? Well, when they decided that they have descendants, that killed that theory, because
Danny has descendants.
Yeah,
it's not explicitly pointed out that Clara does,
but is it? There was the scene in...
She's connected to them somehow.
There was a scene in that episode where he mentioned his great-grandmother.
Oh, was a time traveler, right?
Yeah, and she's like, "Do you know me?" And he holds her hand.
Right.
And she says this was an heirloom, and he goes, "Yes."
The soldier.
Yeah, the soldier, and he holds her hand. And they have a moment where he tells her by holding her hand. That's what I thought it was.
Like, so she must.
So there's a connection there.
She must be alive, but Danny could very well be dead.
Right.
Who do you think that Cyberman is that stayed behind?
Which one?
At the end of the episode.
The one who was still inside the case, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Clara turns around, and there's a lone Cyberman.
I assumed that was Dr. Scarovian or whatever his name was.
Scaro.
I know. People were talking about the fact that it has the entire word Scaro in it plus SA.
Yeah, but it makes me very suspicious considering Davros's plot.
Or it could be Danny's body staying behind. Could be. There's a connection.
Could be. But if that's true, then how does his body know to stick by her when his consciousness hasn't been uploaded yet? He hasn't hit the delete button yet.
You know, I think it's much more likely.
The body, apparently the mind feels what the body feels. So remember, like, that's what they said, that if you're burning, remember we heard a scream and they go, oh, he gave his body to science.
Right.
So your body's still connected.
That whole thing had a very haunted house kind of house of horror feel, where you walk into the thing and you hear the screams and you don't see them and somebody's telling you scary stuff.
But they always do that with the Cybermen, like the upgrade procedure that we've seen before.
Speaking of that, I was a little bit disappointed that I thought the reveal came a little too soon in this episode. It was...
The Missy reveal?
No,
I thought that was Time Brother.
Or the Cyberman reveal.
The Cyberman reveal.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought if they hadn't released that photograph with the Cyberman in the publicity shot, the doors would have been our clue.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some fans who already pointed it out online, right? But for the casual
Cyberman
viewers,
eye.
that it was a Cyberman eye. But when we saw the double doors for the first time, that would have been such a great reveal for those who hadn't seen the publicity photos.
Yeah.
Subtle.
Yeah, very subtle.
Well, Danny.
But the music let you know. The music let you know because you saw it and the music went drama, and it let you know, this is something that I should be paying attention to. Oh, that's what it is.
Danny's little tear was pretty much the reveal, or we could go all the way back to his first introduction, his cry. That's the tear in the corner of the Cyberman's eye.
Yeah, he's really good at doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I jumps. I don't know. One of the best lines I thought was it was the exchange when when he's like, Claire, where's Claire? I gotta get Claire. And then Missy says something, and he goes, I presume you have stairs. And then she goes, well, I'm not a Dalek.
Right.
I thought that was awesome. I was like, no, they did not. So
there were some great little comic moments in this episode that I really relished. The episode was well timed. I thought the pacing was good. The acting was great. Michelle Gomez is fantastic as Missy. She's got that right blend of menacing and manic.
Yeah.
And
possibly even better than John Sim.
The comic timing between her and the Doctor, even though it's not intentionally comic, but you can tell that both actors have done comedy before because their timing is fantastic. It almost makes me wish that she would be a recurring villain. I wonder if they'll dispose of her completely by the end of this. Yeah, because in the old days, the Master appeared a lot, and people kind of got tired of it.
Right.
But nowadays, I'm thinking, wow, we've got such a colorful character now.
Hey,
I hope she sticks around.
If the viewer appreciation is there, I think just like River, that she'll be coming back over and over again. I have a feeling.
Yeah. She won't always be dressed as Mary Poppins, but...
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Why the costume is just kind of a little weird, but...
Yeah.
I mean, think about what the Master used to go about dressed like. He
was a priest.
Yeah.
A couple of times.
Okay.
He was dressed as
well, he was dressed as a cop
in the Demons or the Daemons. He dressed as a dark priest.
Magister.
Yeah. Latin for master.
Well, yeah. I mean, back then
he's been a Catholic priest and he's been a Satanist priest.
Right. Back then he used to impersonating
authority figures.
Right.
Okay.
That was before he drifted into having this uniform that got really ridiculous in the Anthony Ainley era of the Master. Gee, I wonder if anybody is ever going to do the 3 Masters or the 4 Masters. It's getting to the point where we could actually have an episode like that.
Well, somebody was talking about earlier on in Capaldi's tenure when he was just basically being cruel and cold to everybody. Somebody said that they should do a 2 Doctors episode with Colin Baker and Peter Capaldi, and they'll just do one-liners as people die.
Nice.
Ouch.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. Colin Baker has aged very well, by the way. I don't know.
Colin Baker's voice is held up incredibly
well. If you've been listening to any of the Big Finish audios, he sounds just like he did in 1986. Yeah. It's fantastic. He definitely doesn't look it, but the voice is there.
Well, he and Davidson can both still pull it off, at least audio-wise.
Davison, depending on the director, he sometimes sounds old. I think they have to kind of prod him and make sure that he gets that nervous energy back that he had back when he was, what was he, like 31?
Right.
Something like that.
At the point.
Yeah, he was the youngest Doctor at the time.
And Sylvester McCoy is always Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah, Sylvester sounds exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Baker's actually remarkably with the direction from Big Finish. His audio dramas have been great. He did some stuff
under good direction. He can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I heard there was an audio book that was released with him and Captain Yates.
Oh, wow.
They sounded old.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
But
actually,
the
they
Big
did
Finish
3
stuff-
5-parters. They did 3 5-parters.
Yeah, Hornet's Nest. I listened to that one, and they sounded much older. But then I went to the Big Finish stuff, and I thought, this is real. This just shows you what good direction can do. It gives you that energy, and they say, Tom, just a little higher, a little more, and a little faster, and he's got it. And suddenly it's 1974 again.
Yeah.
and
he can do it with the good direction.
It's fantastic.
And so can Louise Jameson too.
And so to a certain extent, even though apparently she was ill at the time or becoming ill, Mary Tam reprised her role in 4 audios as Romana too.
Oh, I'd like to hear that.
It was great.
I got to hear that.
Yeah, they were great. The chemistry was still there. It was like they never stopped. Credit to the BBC casting. I think they're doing the same thing with new Doctor Who.
Well, we're wasting tape. Let's wrap this up.
The only thing I wanted to ask was, so Misty kills her Dr. Chane, her underling or whatever he is. So I think it was Chan or
Powers.
Chan or I don't. Yeah.
It was great.
But anyway, so she kills him, but was he already I thought they're in the underworld or wherever the hell they are. So was he alive or was he already dead to begin with?
Good point.
Yeah.
So,
I wondered about that.
So I was curious.
And why did he say something nice if she said she was going to kill him? If he said something nice,
because I would
have stood there and insulted her for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, doesn't he just say, "Please don't kill me"? I don't remember.
He does. But then she says, "I'm only going to kill you if you say something nice." And then he says,
and she uses a hollow disruptor and wipes him, and there you go.
Yeah. So I was just So I was just I was kind of confused by that because I thought he would already be dead. But I don't know. I was just curious.
Yeah, that was very strange. There were a couple of head-scratching moments, but since it's a 2-parter, I'm trying to reserve my judgment because I'm hoping that they're going to be explained in part 2.
Yeah.
Humankind, bring out your dead.
So the next time trailer and the synopsis. The synopsis said the Doctor meets up with UNIT, and they're on the UNIT's equivalent of Air Force One, and he's in a totally new role. What does that mean?
Does it mean that he's their scientific advisor again?
But this is...
That'd be fun.
Right.
It would be new for this Doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we've got the scene that harkens back to Twilight Zone, where the Doctor looks out the window, and he says, the clouds are still there. And all of a sudden, a Cyberman appears on the wing.
I wonder if he's going to do his Bill Shatner impression at that point.
I know I would. The next time trailers typically have something in that's important.
But the next time trailers have also been sometimes intentionally misleading. I mean, trailers are supposed to take whatever you've got and make it look awesome.
Yeah.
But this time, they're not only doing that, they're misleading people, not only with episode titles, but also with the trailers. So I enjoy the trailers, but I try not to take too much from them because I know that I'm probably going to be wrong again.
Do we think this is a part 2, as in the second part, or a part 2 of 3, and that we're going to be left hanging at the end of this for a continuation?
I think we're going to be left hanging.
I am almost hoping that they do a season cliffhanger. I'm hoping that they pull a Back to the Future 2.
I expect it.
Where at the end of part 2 it says to be concluded.
Yeah. I'm expecting it.
But then again, does that mean that the Christmas episode will be a continuation, or will it be an interstitial episode?
I very much doubt it. They've never been in continuity before.
Yeah.
But was it ever confirmed that Claire is leaving for Christmas? I thought that was her last episode. I thought that was the rumor.
Yes,
that's what everybody is saying.
It's just a rumor, though.
I have never seen it in writing.
Yes, it has not been confirmed.
Yes, we have no bananas. All right. Well, exciting stuff, guys. And we will.
It's been a great season.
Oh yeah. And I'll watch it again probably during the off season, just for fun. And we'll see you next week.
Outstanding.
Thanks,
Until next time.
NuWho Review was produced and hosted by Farrar Hudkins. The opening theme music was performed by Lewis Dorman, and music performed by the Consortium of Genius. Email your questions or comments to NuWhoReview@gmail.com.